Hello, hello. Welcome back to The Mill. My name is Rachel Ballatori. I'm the founder and CEO of Mill & Co. I am so honored to be joined by an absolute powerhouse today, Melissa Gilbo. Melissa, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, Rachel, I've been looking forward to this podcast for so long. From the moment you asked, I was like, yes.
Yes, and for our audience, we're both highly caffeinated, so buckle up. Just a quick intro to Melissa. Her pronouns are she, her, hers. She's a dynamic entrepreneur from the North Shore of Massachusetts. We won't hold that against her in New Hampshire. She's a dedicated mother of two and a trailblazer for female entrepreneurs. With high energy and heart-centered leadership, she is revolutionizing the networking industry and inspiring women nationwide. Melissa is the co-founder and CEO of the Women's Business League, or WBL, and the founder of Melissa Gilbo Consulting. Her passion and dedication drove her to build a national brand, empowering business owners to reach their full potential. A visionary leader, Melissa is creating a life she loves and helping others do the same. So honored to have you.
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you, Rachel, for having me.
Of course. So first and foremost, what is the Women's Business League?
Women's Business League is really my heart. It really is. So I'll take you, I think maybe a little bit of a backstory will set the stage for the mission, the values, and the passion that is WBL. So I grew up in the insurance world, insurance industry. Right out of college, I landed a role at GE for their insurance program and quickly made my way into management. But I didn't realize connections or relationships at that point. Like you're young, you're out of college, you're like, whoa, I just landed myself a sweet job. Yeah. So it wasn't until I had my two boys, which are my everything, my family, that I realized that I love helping people. It's my passion, people first. So I wanted to continue my journey in the insurance space because I knew I was helping people. It just couldn't happen in that role because I was working more than 40 hours. And as a working mom, tough to do. So I was able to find a job here in my hometown in Georgetown, Massachusetts, as an insurance producer. So that was kind of like my first aha moment into the world and the realm of networking and what is networking and what does that all look like and mean. But real talk, Rachel, real talk.
Hit me.
It is hard. It is so hard to build your own book of business and to get out there and to start meeting people and to show up at networking events where you walk into a room and you know nobody. Mm-hmm. So that's setting the stage for what is WBL. Yeah. Along my journey, I did a lot of networking in the agency here at Georgetown Insurance Agency, and I met my business partner, Amy Posick. Our bosses actually connected us, which is such a funny story because Amy was in mortgages and I was in the insurance world. So our bosses were like, oh gosh, we got to get these two together. And they're probably shaking their head now saying, probably shouldn't have matched.
For anyone watching who has not yet had the pleasure of meeting Amy, you have to connect with her on LinkedIn. She's an absolute firecracker, and it's going to make perfect sense why the two of you work so well together.
I know. So we had an honest conversation at a little pizza shop here in Georgetown, Massachusetts, where we just sat down and we just shared how hard it was. And, you know, we're both working moms. We're both boy moms. She has two boys. I have two boys. And we just really got to connecting on a personal level. A complete stranger, right? Like, but we took the time to say yes, to sit down across the table from one another and actually exchange stories and listen and hear what each one of us was going through. And I think that's missing in this kind of, you know, decade is, you know, everybody's behind the computer. But I'll get more into that later in terms of, you know, getting out from behind the computer. So fast forward, Amy and I started to help one another, and I was like, let me introduce you to a couple people. And she's like, let me introduce you to a few. So we met again 2 weeks later at the Georgetown Pizza Shop, and it just kept happening and happening. And it organically, we started meeting every 2 weeks. And the cool thing was, is that we were showing up for each other, supporting one another, not because we had to, but because we wanted to.
Right.
And around that table, we started to get to know the people. The relationships started happening, both personally and professionally, learning about, who you are and why you started your business, who are your ideal clients. And the referrals were just, I can't even explain it. I have goosebumps. It was just magic.
Mm.
And then real quick, we met like that for 8 months.
Wow.
8 months
At the
of
same pizza shop?
at the same pizza shop.
They gotta hang a photo of the two of you. You know what I mean? Like you're celebrities in this place now.
I know I kid. In a couple other interviews I did, I'm like, I think I put Georgetown, Massachusetts on the map.
Yeah.
Little Georgetown.
I had never heard of it before meeting you, so
Yeah. So that's kind of the backstory of, the seed of, we didn't even have WBL at that moment. But the aha moment, Rachel, was when somebody tapped us on the shoulder, the quiet tap, and they're like, whatever you two are doing in Georgetown, I'm hearing about it, and I want to bring that to my community. So we were like, this is needed. Although there are some incredible networking organizations and companies out there, we knew, I knew what I was missing all along with all of my networking endeavors was putting people first, putting
yeah.
relationships first, and taking the time to ask, how can I help you, and to support them.
Mm.
So that is the foundation and the heart of Women's Business League. And that's the seed of WBL. So
And
I'll
then we've got
kind
a national garden blooming. It's so funny, Melissa. I remember meeting you. It was through the Market Her conference
of,
hosted by Lisa Kessler
yes.
at where was it? It doesn't matter. I feel
In
like
New
an old
Hampshire, yeah.
aunt. It's like those little details matter. Like, was she 5'6"? No, she was 5'7". Maybe she was 5'5". I don't remember. So
Doesn't
I was there, and that was my first taste of WBL. And I believe you were a major sponsor of that event, or a co-host perhaps even. And it's so interesting because on the side, Mill and Co had been building Table Talk,
right.
which is a networking series built on valuable relationships. And it's so funny. Not many people know this about me, but I'm quite the fisher woman. I love to fish. Something I used to do with my dad when he was still around, and now do with his brother, my uncle. And when you think about the word network, if you
Mhm.
flip it, it should really be a working net or working web, right? Think of it that way. And I'll give you a really good example of this. There's working nets and non-working nets. I was walking into a networking event, and in the parking lot, I met an individual, and we were just kind of like, chatting about the usual pleasantries, like, oh, it's so hot out. Like, oh, look at the bugs. Oh, the trees. Normal bullshit, right? Like
Yeah.
nothing real substance yet.
Yeah.
We literally get to the door to walk into this event, and this person hands me their business card with no context. I don't know their name. I don't know what they do. I don't know where they're from. I don't know what their interests are, what their passion is, how they help people, or what they're looking for. And all they said was, I'm in commercial real estate, and if you ever need someone, give me a call. Do you know what I did with that business card? I don't know if I should probably, I threw it out.
Yeah, it's just right in the trash. Right in
Before
the
we even
trash.
walked in the building, I let them go in. I let them walk first. There was a trash can right on the side, and I tossed it
Yeah.
because I am not here for that. I am here
No.
for natural, valuable relationships. I give you something, you give me something, we help others, you help me. And that's really why Table Talk even started. I was looking at our clients over the last 6.5 years. I have not made one cold call in 6.5 years.
No. And neither is
Our
WBL.
clients,
Yeah.
because you don't have to when you offer something valuable, right? When you create a good, healthy environment, creates desirability. It's a working net. The people in my net
I love
work.
that.
want to work. They want to help me because they know that I'm the first one to mention their name in a room that they're not in.
That's
So
right.
that's kind of a message I hope to leave our viewers of this specific episode because it's so important. Your network should be a working net, not a non-working net.
I absolutely love that. I mean, you need to coin that. You need to do something with that. You need
We'll
to
do
put
like
that.
a women's fishing outing in Portsmouth. We'll get
I
a
would love that. I actually do love to fish, and it's fun. Yeah, it's funny because I actually taught my boys how to put the worm on the hook, and people are like, "Oh my God, you touched the worm!" I'm like, "Yeah. How else are they gonna figure it out? Like, you
yeah,
actually have to do it."
yeah,
Um, but I love how you flip the word networking and put some meaning behind that. So I love the story so much because we all can relate to that. And I know all of the listeners
yeah.
and viewers here can understand
Mm.
walking into a room is so intimidating, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
So I really want to stress that WBL is redefining what it means and feels like to network.
Mm.
When we hear the word network, I don't want it to feel heavy or scary anymore. I want it to be a word full of connections, possibilities, opportunities. Like we're here to redefine the
Mm.
word networking. And I actually like to use the word community
Mm.
more so than networking.
Yeah.
Um, because it's so powerful if done correctly.
Hmm.
You that whole example of handing a business card to somebody you don't know, stop. Like whoever's listening right now, I'm telling you right now, it does not work.
Don't
Stop.
do it.
Don't do it.
Do not give me. I was literally, and I felt guilty for like 0.8 seconds. And I was like, no, no,
No,
this person doesn't. And you know what's crazy? I know someone looking for commercial real estate property.
no,
I
I
could
know.
have been a phenomenal asset for this person. And instead, I was just like, but what you're showing me is I'm just here for one thing and one thing
Right,
only, me. They
right.
didn't even ask for my business card. And you know what? I actually don't carry, I haven't carried business cards for the better half of almost 2 years now. I just let people scan my LinkedIn QR code.
Yep,
DM me if you don't know what that means. You should by now. And that's it. And now I want you to learn about me. I want you to see the type of content that I'm posting.
that's
Maybe it's
right.
something of like, ooh, Rachel knows this person. Maybe she can be a good referral to connect me with them. Or, oh, you know what? Rachel just posted about we're looking for a graphic designer, right? I
Yeah,
know 3 people that would be such a perfect fit for Mill and Co. I want that symbiotic relationship. And I think that's what I really treasure about what you and Amy are doing at WBL is this is not a transactional. Listen, there's tons of networking groups. There are tons of them. A lot of them have homework assignments,
right.
tons of mandatories. It becomes a burden.
Yeah.
What it should be is this very uplifting community that you can be as engaged or disengaged. Obviously, the more engaged you are, the more you're going to get out of it. But it
That's right.
shouldn't be this like pressure-filled transactional experience for people.
No, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't feel like another job. I don't want it to feel heavy because we know you're in the marketing world. There's so many components of marketing, and I really want the business folks out there to hear that networking is a part of your marketing plan. It's a part of your strategy. It's all of these things working simultaneously. You have to get out there. People need to know who you are, your name, what you stand for, your personal brand. Um, it all does matter, both digitally and out there in the real world.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny that you mentioned Lisa Kessler because we do a lot of talking with college students
Yeah.
at WBL. And we got to speak with some of our students over at UNH, which was so much fun. We've done it like 4 years in a row and really just adding value, you know, at a young age. Like, I wish somebody had told me,
Mm.
like, I wish we had this conversation that we're having right now back 20 years ago,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
I attribute the lowest point of Mill and Co was in 2019. We almost went out of business. Again, a big reason why I started the Table Talk Grant, which is this nonprofit initiative that we partner with the New Hampshire Tech Alliance and the Tech Foundation to raise money to support women and minority-owned businesses. 2019, Mill and Co almost completely went out of business. I was by myself, no employees, overworking, undercharged, overcharging, no, undercharging, overworking. That's the one. And it was such a traumatic time. And
Like,
you know what I didn't do is reach out to anyone in my network.
see?
Because here I am as a woman trying to prove myself in a space that can be somewhat male dominated, completely alone, trying to prove that I've built a successful business, that I'm not a failure to everyone around me, which by the way, no one felt that way, but that's called imposter syndrome. And, you know, millions of Americans suffer every year. Um, and I did not reach out to others. In fact, very few people even knew that we were struggling. I hid it really well.
Yeah.
And I wish I didn't. I wish I reached out. I wish I asked for help. I wish I just talked to other people and was a little bit more vulnerable. And that was just, you know, a few years ago. And now we have 3 employees plus myself, our huge network. We're growing like crazy. We're continuing to hire. You know, like what a change. But I think I could have gotten there much faster had I not gone into my shell, reverted just back into myself, but reached out to my trusted allies in my community.
Yeah, and that word community is huge. Solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, business professionals, we need to be in community with others. We're
Mhm.
not meant to do this alone. We're not meant to be behind the screen alone 24/7, right?
Yeah.
So that is a huge part of what WBL is. I want to just share a little bit about a little sneak into what we do inside of our meetings, but I
Mhm.
first just want to applaud you. um you're such an inspiration. From the first moment we met, I have goosebumps. You have such a presence about you. And when we both spoke at the Market Her conference, you referenced that. It was about a year ago, and that was the first time I met you in person. Um and I got the honor of actually sitting and listening to your presentation. And you are as real can be, which I so appreciate. You have such a presence and a passion for what you do. And I could feel that when you were speaking to us. And I can feel that in all that you do. And you talked a little bit about Table Talk, and we're so excited to be in alignment with what you're doing. WBL, we don't say yes to everybody, right? Like, it has to make sense. And that's another good point for some of our listeners is, you know, there'll be a lot coming at you, but you don't have to say yes to everything. You have to make sure that it aligns with who you are, your professional brand, your values and your mission before you say yes. And I'm excited to have WBL alongside of Mill and Co and Table Talk and your initiatives in terms of being a community partner.
Thank
So
you.
exciting.
The feeling is so mutual.
Yeah. And we're also excited to have you a part of the WBL family, which we're so excited to have
Me
you
too.
inside of our community.
Me too.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna thrive. People need to know you and you know and what you do in this world. You're definitely an inspiration. So
Thank
from
you.
2019 to where you are today, ooh, I would like to interview you, and I want to pull some of this stuff out of you.
She did it, folks. Barely. A lot of tears.
Oh, to be continued. We're gonna have another session, or we're gonna just flip the screen here.
Deal. Yeah.
Okay. But getting back to community, and inside of WBL, we have our bi-weekly chapter meetings, and that's where we come together and we really get to know each other. Our time together is very structured because we know people's time is very important. So right out of the gate, we're not a social organization. We are very intentional about the time we spend together. So inside of the chapter meetings, we actually get to ask for help, which is so huge. I don't feel like we ask for help enough. And you alluded to that in 2019. So can you imagine during that time sitting around a table of 30 women who are there supporting you, and you actually get to ask them for help? What is it that you need? Like, it is a game changer, and you do that every other week, right? Like, do you feel that in your business, like what businesses you work with, like actually having a goal and a plan and asking people for help to get you to that goal is a game changer.
You know what? I think it's interesting you bring that up, because I'm personally going through this now. A lot of my time, as any entrepreneur can experience this and can relate.
Yeah.
You wear a lot of hats.
Every hat.
And under those hats are like a couple beanies, and then under the beanies are a few visors, and then under the visors is like a couple swimming caps. Like everything gets stacked on your head,
Yeah.
right? And the problem with that is when you're doing everything for your business to keep it running, who's helping it grow? Who's being innovative? Who's thinking strategically? So this has been a huge focus for me over the last really 2 years, and I wholeheartedly attribute our success to two things. First and foremost, my employees.
Yes.
If they weren't so freaking incredible, so smart, so self-motivated, and fully buy into the fact that they are as much of this as I am.
Yep.
They fully take stock and invest in Mill& Co. in the same way that I do, with their time and energy and care that they bring to our clients. And so because I hired really great people, it enabled me to free myself up and say, okay, baby birds out of the nest. I can go focus on these things. I can go source speaking engagements. But I also needed to kind of plan out, like, well, what do I do now? Right? Like, what are those things? And I think that's where WBL is, at least for me specifically, going to be so impactful, because I want to help myself think through, okay, if I know that speaking engagements drive new business because it's a
Right.
great presence, I get to show up for one time for 30 minutes and meet 200 people. Phenomenal,
Yep.
right? What's the best way to go about that so I'm not just manually burning hours? Like, I would love to talk to the group about what have they learned? What is their experience with doing something like this? How can I eventually get myself on a paid speaker series? Up to this point, either I've paid to sponsor or I've spoken for free, both of which I'm happy to do.
Yeah.
Is that, and does that make sense for me as a part of my career trajectory as an individual? So I think that having that network of other folks that are in the same or similar position to you. And the other thing too, and I know this might sound silly, and maybe I'm alone in this, but I had a really hard time opening up to friends, family, or
Friend.
people that knew me, because I couldn't get out of my own way to think that they'd be judging me or think I was a failure. And for all the reasons that that's the wrong way to think, it was also a very valid feeling for me. And I wanted to honor that. And so I think there's so much value in being, it's like going to therapy, right? I'd rather talk to my therapist sometimes than tell my husband how I'm feeling, not because I don't want him to know, but because he almost knows me too well, right? And I don't want that layer. I'd rather go talk to my therapist about it. Same thing with your business. Sometimes it's nice to get that kind of unbiased third party perspective, feedback, someone who doesn't really know me, isn't layering in any other bias or subconscious thought. It's just, here's what I do, Rachel. Here's what I hear from you. Here's some suggestions. That is so valuable.
It is so valuable. Like, you can't even put a price tag on what you just said. You really can't.
Yeah.
You need business. You need to have conversations with people who are in business versus, a mom who's raising their kids. It's very different. Although it kind of commingles, but to have an honest conversation about your struggles isn't intended for the soccer field, right? Like,
Yeah.
so to be in community with other women who are up to really big things and women who are starting, and it is so powerful. Like, the demographic within WBL is expansive. We have new folks coming right out of college. We have veterans who have owned their business for 30 years. So the experience is just unbelievable. And the reach nationally is like no others. I think that's really what separates WBL. Again, there's so many different things I could talk about, but being able to intentionally network with other women that you wouldn't get the chance to meet is a game changer.
I'm sure you have a million and one examples like this, but if you could, and even if it's anonymous, could you share something that you would deem as a success story of a member of WBL?
Oh, yes, there's so many. There are so many. One that brought me to tears, I was at a chapter meeting in New Hampshire, It was at the end, and it was the quiet tap on the shoulder.
Mm.
And I turned around, and one of the members just started crying. And she was just so thankful
Mm.
for the opportunity, the connections that were made in that room, the safe space, the
Mm.
mastermind. It just changed her life. She was new into the industry. I won't get too specific.
Mm.
Um, and I literally hugged her and I said, I see you. I see you,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you've got this. And she just needed somebody to hear and see her. And gosh, she's just thriving. I mean, there's another story from, again, in New Hampshire. We were doing a chapter launch, and there was this woman sitting in the way back. Like that story of walking into a room where you don't know anybody, you're so uncomfortable. She picked the seat way, way back.
Yeah.
Just started her business, so shy.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, she's one of our chapter leaders, and she has built
Wow.
a thriving business.
Yeah.
Her business is like 10 times itself, and that was only 3 years ago that we met her.
Yeah.
I have so many stories. I really do.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is what gets me, I'm going to cry, out of bed at night. I mean, we are making a difference. The work that WBL is doing is changing lives.
Yeah. It's so beautiful, Melissa. And it's so funny. I think back to like we closed a huge deal a few months ago. Huge. I worked my ass off for months to close this. And then it did. And it's literally me at my computer. And I was like, can I get a high five?
Yeah.
Alone, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that, there's days that I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go work at like a cake decorating shop and I'm
Yeah.
just gonna be all set with
Low
this. And
stress. Yeah.
I think what's really critical is I have the same conversation with friends of mine who have had miscarriages. Not to give a whole 180, but when something is stigmatized, it's typically that way because it's not discussed, meaning there's a lack of education, a lack of awareness, and a lack of understanding. So if you can create awareness, understanding, and knowledge of something, suddenly it's a little bit less of a stigma,
Yeah.
right? That
Yep.
makes sense.
Yep.
So when you think about entrepreneurship and what WBL is doing by creating a safe space that gives women a sense of belonging in a world based on what's happening with our culture, our government, investment funds that are still not even remotely even between male and female entrepreneurs. Of course, we don't feel like we belong. Like, no shit. We're completely on the outside. Not to mention if you're a minority female business owner, now you've got it's 6 more hurdles to get over. And so for WBL to create such a space that whatever you are, whatever you look like, whatever business industry you're in, whatever stage of business you're in, whatever your needs are, you matter. Oh, I have chills. Can you see them?
Right.
You matter.
You belong here. Yeah, you belong.
If I could have told myself that 6 years ago,
Right?
I can't even imagine where my business would be now. And then that's really a big reason why I started Table Talk and why I wanted you all at WBL to be a community partner, because I know you get it. I know you understand this.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. And the work you're doing is incredible. To be able to host these free events where there's no barrier for people to attend. I mean, from one heart to another, good job. I mean,
Thank you.
ooh,
And listen, it's hard. Like
yeah.
there are events that Mill and Co
Oh
is
yeah.
putting the bill. And you know what? I'm fortunate to be in that position to be able to do that. And I would rather in year one of us doing this cover some, if not all of the costs to execute these things to show our attendees like we mean
We mean
business.
business. Yeah.
This is not a profit driver for us. Of course, let's state the obvious.
Yeah.
It's great publicity for my company. Of course it is.
Right.
Is that why we're doing this? 100% not.
No.
Is it a great value add? 100%. Am I still going to run free events and eat the cost? 100%.
Yeah. I want to go back to the win, to your win, and how you were like, hey, can I get a high five here? So Along with a little sneak inside of our chapter meetings, you know how I said one of the questions we always ask is you can ask for something, you can ask for help. But another thing we do is we celebrate the wins.
Oh, I love that.
Every single meeting, tell us what you've been up to in the last 2 weeks. What are you proud of, both personally and professionally? And we're all really cheering each other on. And that's where you actually get to see the person come alive,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
And
I
it
love
doesn't have
that.
to be so heavy or hard. Like we have fun. Like WBL, we always have fun. We bring the energy. We have so many incredible educational opportunities. We put
Mm,
on events that are so much fun. It's the room to be in where you're celebrating one another, making these incredible connections.
mm.
Um, yeah, I know this won't air for a while, but we're having our soiree coming up. But we do it every single year. But
Yeah,
that's definitely a room to be in. So we're super excited for that.
I love that. I can't wait. And I'd love to ask Melissa, what is one piece of advice that has stuck with you for a long time?
Ooh. So for me, I just put something out on my social. I'm so raw in this moment, but um personally I lost somebody in my family. So in this moment, I'm always thinking back to the advice, like, come on, Melissa, like, get up, get yourself going. And it's don't ever let the hard harden you.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And I just keep coming back to that
Mm,
because, like you had alluded to, entrepreneurship is incredible. I mean, I would never change a thing. I wouldn't look back. I've never looked behind me. I left my career to do what I'm doing today, and it was the scariest thing I've ever done. But there is a lot of hards along the way, right? There really is. And I just want the viewers and you all to know, like, don't let that harden you or change you in any way. There's always some lessons to be learned, and to take those lessons and to come out even stronger on the other side. So I think that's
that's beautiful.
my advice.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I know that,
Yeah.
talking about stuff like that is hard because
Yeah.
especially as an entrepreneur, I listen to everything. I sort, keep, maybe, toss, right?
Yep.
I Marie Kondo all of the advice that I get. Does this bring me joy? No? Bye.
Bye.
Let me get a business card. See
Yep.
you later. But at Mill& Co., I worked with an awesome business coach a few years ago, and I was like, I really want to define our internal pillars because I think it's really important to
Yes.
define that for like, what do we do? How do we behave? What's the culture that we nurture internally? Which, of course, in my opinion, is the same culture that we foster, grow, and mandate externally with clients
That's
or with freelancers that we're working with. And what we netted on, which surprises people every time I tell them, they're always like, oh, it's like strategy, innovation, humility, right? And I was like, actually, it's kindness, empathy, open communication, period. It's in every pitch deck that we present. I think it's really important to set the stage with even prospective clients. You get on or you get off
that's right.
for the same reasons that all of our contracts for the last 6.5 years are rolling 30-day contracts. We could work together for a year on one contract, but you can let us go after 30 days. We can let you go
Yeah.
after 30 days.
Yeah.
And rest assured, Melissa, I have been in that seat where I have let clients go.
Good for
We
you.
have parted ways with freelancers because what I'm not willing to do is sacrifice that internal pillar. I'm not willing to do it because the second we do that, we're just like everybody else.
Yeah, you're right. And gosh, this is why we're in so much alignment. So our core values at WBL is kindness, generosity, and connection,
Okay.
community. Yeah. So kindness, generosity, yeah, it's like exactly what you just said. And yeah, we're not going to steer clear from that. So it's the internal guardrails that will steer us to that North Star, right? So we're here for a reason. We're here to support and help people. So if somebody came to me tomorrow and was like, hey, Melissa, let's get into, like, I don't know, the t-shirt making business or what, no, it doesn't follow our internal guardrail of why we're here and our purpose
Yep.
to be here in terms of
It's
supporting
your North
women.
Star.
Yeah, the North
And nothing
Star.
should deviate you from that. Like maybe you take a little curve
Yeah.
around a meteor, you're kind of going on your way, but you are always
In the car
heading.
together. Like, what?
Like, shit. Melissa, for our millions and millions and millions of followers, and by that I mean like my mom and like a couple of my friends that watch this podcast, um, how can people learn more and become a member of the Women's Business League?
Yeah, so we are national, 6 years into this. So we welcome folks that just want to join the community. So we have chapters all over the country. We have about 50 chapters. But if there isn't a chapter in your community, you can still be a part of Women's Business League and join the community, like you, Rachel. So our website is our kind of landing spot. So it's womensbusinessleague.com. It's live. We update it every day. And if you have more questions, you can't find the answers there, info@womensbusinessleague.com. We'll get right back to you if you have any inquiries or questions. And for the folks that love social media, we love LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where it's at. If you're not on LinkedIn and you're listening to us today, you have to get on LinkedIn. It's an underutilized platform. And we do love Instagram and Facebook. So those are our 3 platforms. And WBL just got over onto Pinterest. So it's a brand new platform for us. So we're starting to test out Pinterest. But yeah, that's how you can get a hold of us.
Amazing. And for anyone listening, Melissa, WBL, and their website will all be tagged and included in our social posts. And then we will also be sending an email out to our email list highlighting them. Melissa, I can't thank you enough. This has been one of my favorite conversations this year.
Yay!
I mean that. No offense to my past speakers. I love you all. Thank you so much. But Melissa, you really, really are rounding out the year nicely. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I appreciate you tuning into the mill, and we will see you next time.